So you want to know how I really feel about Paris. What up, peeps? Welcome to the Gabe Fix. Whether it's your first time or you've been here multiple times before, hey girl, hey. Thank you so much for coming and checking out this video. I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button and become a part of the family. You can even hit the notification bell. That way you know of all of my future uploads. So, you guys, I finally went to Europe. Yay! You guys, I have been looking forward to going to Europe forever. Oh my goodness, like since before I got married. I remember talking about taking a European trip, like, you know, with my husband and my family. So I've been looking forward to this forever, and it finally happened. And now I'm going to tell you all about it. So I asked my Instagram peeps like what type of questions they had about like traveling internationally, traveling with kids, and all of that good stuff. So I got tons of questions. So this is going to be like a Q&A style video, but I'm probably going to run through like the stats first, just so you can get an overview of like where we went, where we stayed, all of that good stuff. Oh, and then also I kind of talked about this in my, well, not kind of, I did talk about this in my latest podcast, Let's Make Out. If you are not subscribed to the Let's Make Out channel, you should go over there and check it out. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, shameless plug. But my husband and I talked about, you know, just traveling internationally with kids, and we gave some of our tips. So if you want to hear that and kind of like his perspective on things, then you can go and listen to that. I'll put a link in the description box. But this is probably going to be a little bit more in-depth, plus I have the questions, so you might hear a little bit more on this video. So we went to Paris, France, and Venice, Italy. We were gone for a total of 14 days. 14 days, but 2 of those days were like travel days, so probably like 12 days altogether. About 9 of those days were spent in Paris, and then 3 of those days were spent in Venice. So we had a non-stop flight on Delta from Indianapolis to Paris. It was about 8 hours, and we purchased 3 tickets. Well, we didn't purchase them, we actually used our miles. We had Delta miles, so we were able to get 3 of our tickets, and we didn't buy a ticket for baby girl because she's not 2, so technically she doesn't need a ticket. She was just like a lap child. And then we bought my mom a ticket because she met us halfway through the trip, and we did, you know, Paris, and then we went to Venice for her, and then all that good stuff. So yeah, we used our frequent flyer miles so that we did not have to pay for airfare. In terms of everything else, we have kind of been saving for this trip for the past like 5 years. And when I say saving, it's not like actively saving. We've been kind of passively saving for this trip. We use an app called Capital, and this is not sponsored, but it is like one of the best apps ever. Like, they have so many different plans that you can choose from, so many different like ways to save. So I mean, like, you can save your way, like however you want to do it. They have a lot of different rules. So like when we first heard about Capital, we actually did like a placement for it years ago. It was one of like our very first placements, and we were like, okay, well, we might as well use it. So we set up a travel fund, and we set a goal for $10,000, and we were like, okay, as soon as we hit $10,000, we're taking our European trip. And we set up the rule so that every purchase we made with our debit card, it would round up to the nearest dollar and take that amount and save it. So that's what I mean when I say like passively saving, because we never took like any money that we made and put it in that fund. It was basically just from us using our debit card every day like we normally do. And it's cool because you can like round up to $1 or $2. You may even be able to go like more than that. I think you can kind of set it how you want to. So I highly recommend Capital. If you guys are interested, I'll put a link in the description box. You can check it out. But it's great. We use it to save for our taxes, and now I've started like a car payoff fund. So yeah, like, it's dope. So we hit the 10,000 like maybe a couple of months ago, I think maybe like April or May, and we were like, okay, we're gonna take this trip. Well, we knew we were gonna take the trip anyway. We were just like, whether we get to the 10,000 or not, we were ready to take the trip. So we did it. So we used all of that money to cover the rest of the expenses. So to cover our lodging, our traveling back and forth when we got there, our entertainment, our meals, like everything. We used everything in that fund while we were there. In terms of lodging, we decided to stay in Airbnbs. We have stayed in multiple Airbnbs, and I really like them because it gives you, you know, like the feeling of kind of being at home instead of being in like a hotel room where you just have one room, especially when you're going with your family. Like, could you imagine like 4 of us in a hotel room for 2 weeks looking at each other going stir crazy? No, thank you. So the benefit of Airbnb is that it is cheaper, and then also you have space. So, you know, we stayed in an apartment that we had all to ourselves, and, you know, there were 2 rooms. So, you know, the kids could have a room, we could have a room, there's a living room, there's a bathroom, like, you know, you have all of the things that you would normally have at home. So we have the ability to like make breakfast in the morning, and, you know, I made some chicken so that I could have some protein. Like, we washed multiple loads of clothes. So, you know, it was just a plus for us. Like, we enjoy Airbnbs. My husband actually enjoys hotels more, but he understands why an Airbnb is like, it's a better financial decision. And there are probably hotels that you could stay in that are about the same as the Airbnb or cheaper, but, you know, what kind of hotel is it gonna be? To have all the amenities and things you need is going to be a lot more expensive. So that's what we did in terms of lodging. And for transportation, we took the metro a lot, and we walked a lot. A lot. Like, steps was in the like 20,000 range. Like, we was walking, okay? So we walked, and we just bought like a book of like 10, I think it was like 10 metro tickets or something. And then, well, before we bought the book, we probably bought metro tickets probably like 2 or 3 times, and then we were like, let's just get the book, it makes more sense. And then that lasted us the rest of the time that we were there. Now, we did take a car service from the Airbnb to the airport because we flew to Venice. So we took a car service to Venice. Car service picked us up when we got back, and then we took a car service back to the airport when we were going home. Just because we were able to order a car service with car seats for the kids, because we did not travel with their car seats because we wanted to travel as light as possible. So as a family of 4, we carried 2 suitcases. We checked 2 suitcases, and then everybody had a carry-on bag. And I had a carry-on suitcase and, like, you know, my book bag for like my electronics and stuff like that. Reagan had her diaper bag. Chad Jr., he has a book bag that he travels with his electronics and his toys. And then Babe has his book bag for all of his electronics. So as a family of 4, that's all that we traveled with. And then a stroller, which was the best stroller that I've ever had. It's called Mountain Buggy, and it is the best stroller ever. Like, it literally collapses, and it's like the size of a briefcase. Like, that's how small it collapses, which was awesome for some of the tight and small spaces in France and in Italy. So yeah, that's all that we traveled with, and we just wanted to have a lighter load. So we figured, why deal with the car seats, and then you have to lug them from the airport to blah blah blah, because we took the train to our Airbnb when we first got there, and it was a bit of a situation, but we took the train. I'm not really sure why we did that, but yeah, lesson learned. So I feel like those are all of the stats. We did see, you know, like the major things, you know, the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, Champs-Élysées, the Palace of Versailles, you know, the Loc Bridge, and I'm trying to think, where else did we go? Montmartre, I think that's how you say it. So I think we did really good with our like sightseeing. There were some things that we didn't get to see, but I think a lot of that comes with like not planning well enough, because I'm normally like the planner, but this time it was a little bit of a rush job. Like, it was just so much going on leading up to the trip that I just didn't dedicate enough time to research and plan as much as I would have liked to. So yeah, I feel like that's all the stats. Like, a lot of the questions that I got were, you know, like, where did you stay, blah, 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 all of that stuff. So hopefully that answers a lot of the questions. Now I'm going to actually look at them. Oh, what I do know is the number one question that I did get asked is, did you use a travel agent for this trip? And no, I did not use a travel agent for this trip. I have only used a travel agent once, I feel like, and that was for our honeymoon. But since then, like, I'm very confident booking flights and hotels and looking at reviews and finding Airbnbs. Like, I've done that for us, for all of our trips that are not like work trips, that are booked for us. But I've done that, and I've also worked as a travel coordinator. So, like, I actually enjoy doing that stuff. So no, I didn't use a travel agent because I didn't need one. I feel like with Google, like, you can Google everything. I literally Googled Paris itineraries for 7 days. I even Googled and Pinterest, like, Paris activities with kids and stuff like that. So, like, there's so much out there. You don't really have to pay a travel agent to do it unless you just are just not interested at all in doing any research, or you just want somebody to handle it for you. Then by all means use a travel agent. But I think it's all, like, doable. It just may take a little bit of time, a little bit of research, but you'll be fine. Okay, so let's get into these questions. Would you travel overseas with little ones again, or was it too much? This is a really good question, and absolutely, I would definitely do it. Like, my kids are pretty good travelers. They've been traveling like pretty much all of their life, so they do really well on planes. And, you know, like, once we get there, like, they're fine. It's just like being with your kids at home. Like, it's not anything like crazy. Now, depending on the type of vacation, maybe it's not kid appropriate. Like, it depends. I wouldn't, like, go on a hiking trip with my kids because they're not really of age for that. But if we're just going and, like, sightseeing and seeing what we can and eating and going to museums and stuff like that, absolutely. Like, I definitely do it, and we will probably do it again whenever we take our next trip. Where do you guys want to go next? Well, here's the thing. Spain has always been at the top of my list. Always been at the top of my list. Which is crazy because you're probably wondering, well, why didn't y'all go to Spain? We were going to try to tack Spain on, like, in the beginning, spend a few days in Spain, then go to Paris for a few days, then go to Venice when my mom got there, because we were taking this trip, but it just happened to fall on the summer of the year where my mother is going to be turning 60. So when we were talking about it and planning it last year, we were like, man, that would be really cool if we could take mom out for her 60th birthday. So we asked her, like, hey, you're gonna be 60 next year, do you want to party or do you want to go to Venice? Because she's always wanted to go to Italy. Like, that's been a bucket list item for her, and she chose Italy. So we were blessed enough to, like, bring her out and take her to Venice, which is the reason why we went to Venice, because if it was just us, we probably would have done Spain and Paris and, like, London or something like that. But it was just too much to try to do all of those locations with the kids, because I mean, they're 6 and 1.5. So, like, taking a whole bunch of trains, you know, not knowing how long we're going to be on trains and doing all of that. Like, we just wanted to go somewhere with as less, like, travel as possible so that we can kind of keep the same routines that they were used to, and they wouldn't be, like, crazy tired or just uprooted every other day. So we decided to just chill and, like, live in a space. I say all of that to say, next trip, I would love to go to Spain. Like, Spain is definitely on the top of the list. And then, I don't know if we would do this all together, but next time we go back to Europe, I would love to do a, you know, like, London and Amsterdam and, like, Brussels or something like that, you know, a few other places, but I don't know that I would ever go back to Paris. Maybe, but I have so many other places that I want to see that I'd rather not, like, waste the time to go back to Paris when I could be going somewhere else. I will probably never go back to Venice because it just wasn't a whole lot to do, in my opinion. Like, it was beautiful, like, seeing it was just the views are breathtaking, but in terms of, like, activities and sights and stuff, not so much. So yeah, that's where I would love to go next. But I also like to go to Dubai. I want to go to South Africa. There are so many places that I want to go, but I really would love for Spain to be our next like big trip. Did the flight feel like 8 hours or shorter? It absolutely did not feel like 8 hours. Like, it probably felt, I would say it felt like 6 hours. I was surprised at how smooth the flight went and how quick it went. As long as you have entertainment, you're fine. And then like we left to go there at like 6 p.m. So, you know, we were on the flight for about an hour or two. We got, you know, drinks and dinner, and then it was lights out. So most people were asleep. And then we arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning in Paris. We slept most of the time on the way there, and then on the way back, it was like 1 in the afternoon in Paris when we left. So I actually didn't sleep at all on the plane, but I had some work to do, and that kept me occupied. I watched a documentary, like, you know what I'm saying? So it went really fast. Like, it wasn't like I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, are we there yet? Oh my goodness. As long as you got something to keep yourself entertained, you'll be fine. This is a good one. Be honest. How was Paris? I went and didn't love it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. So you want to know how I really feel about Paris? It was all right. I mean, I didn't leave feeling like, wow, this was amazing. Not that Paris isn't amazing. There are so many great sights, and it's beautiful to see the Eiffel Tower all lit up and sparkly and blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't like, I don't know. I didn't leave feeling like, oh, that was amazing. And honestly, like, we encountered a lot of rude people, and I'm not going to make the generalization that all French people are rude, but I'd say about 8 out of 10 that we encountered were very rude. And I don't know if it was like an American thing or if it was like a black people thing, you know what I'm saying? Because my mom encountered it too when we got there, and it was just like I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, I've been to New York. I know everybody's not about to speak, everybody's not about to say excuse me, but it was just like blatant, like cut you off, reaching in front of you. Like, my mom was looking at a suitcase, and this man like came up and literally like just took the suitcase. She was like, excuse me, I'm looking at this, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was just no consideration, I feel like, for it was just really, really weird. I was very surprised by how rude it was. It's one of those things, like, to experience it and to say, oh man, I went to Paris and it was great, but am I itching to go back? No. So I guess that's my honest opinion about how the trip was. The trip was great. Like, we had a good time. It's, you know, we experienced different things. We were able to show different things to our kids and have them experience a different culture and all that stuff. But honestly, like, it wasn't my favorite place. Was knowing French a plus, or could you have gone without it? Definitely could have gone without it. I think that it was great. Like, Babe and I had like a mini lesson, and it was actually a lot of fun just to do and see, but definitely could have gone without it. There are people there, plenty of people there that speak English, and I feel like a lot of times, even when I did speak French to people, they spoke English back to me. So it'd be like, you know, bonjour, they'd be like, hello, and you'd be like, merci beaucoup, and they're like, you're welcome, like, just speak English. You know what I'm saying? I kind of felt that a couple of times. So, I mean, it's nice to be able to understand a little bit of what people are saying, but I don't feel like it's necessary. And I feel like that could have been part of the disconnect for me. Not necessarily, but I just didn't feel like they were my people. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that weird? Like, first of all, they're not my people. But I don't know. I just feel like when I get to Spain, or, you know, I'm just going to like fit right in, and I'm going to love it because I studied Spanish and I understand a lot of it, and you know what I'm saying? So I didn't have that feeling in Paris because I don't really have a lot of background with French, you know what I'm saying? Like, and even Italy, like, the people in Italy were a lot friendlier than they were in Paris, but I still just didn't have that, like, oh, this is my place type of thing. I don't know. It could all be in my head. I could go to Spain and still not feel that. But yeah, I don't feel like it's necessary. Now, it is necessary to have like the Google Translate app so that you can, you know, either, you know, like show, like it has a camera where you can actually like put it on the words and it'll show you, or you can type in something you see and it'll tell you what it is. You can even listen to it. So definitely go over there with the translator app. You need Google Translate because it will definitely come in handy. I used it so much at the grocery store. Just like it's crazy because you're looking at things like, oh, I should know what this is. But sometimes you're like, I don't really know, because I'm trying to buy like washing detergent. And I'm like, is this washing detergent? Is this softener? Is this bleach? I don't know. So you definitely need a translator app, but you don't have to be like fluent in French to know. Like there's somebody over there that speaks English. Like wherever we went, there was always at least one person that spoke English. And it's interesting because like their signs and things, so like at the airport, it has English, it has French, and then it has English. So you know, like here most things have English and they have Spanish. So over there it's like French and then English. So you can pretty much like read. And a lot of like the restaurants and stuff, they have English menus, or they have it written in English right up under French. So I don't think you really need it. If you were to go back in Paris, would you go in the summer or the fall? I would probably go in the fall because it was so hot. Like 105 degree hot, 107 degree hot. Like not the whole time we were there. That was only like 2 days that we were there, but it was still hot. Like whoo, sweltering hot. But it's not like a Indiana hot, like a humid, like their humidity is kind of, I don't know, kind of in between like California humidity, and which is pretty much non-existent, in Indianapolis, which is pretty much all it is humidity. So it was kind of like a nice middle ground, like the feeling, but it was actually really, really hot. But I would like to see it in the fall. I wouldn't go like when it was super cold, but maybe like jacket weather or something like that. That would be cool. Did you eventually adjust to the time change? Yes, but it took about 4 to 5 days for us to really like get on the schedule. Like we would be up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, just wide awake, because it's a 6-hour difference. Like there's 6 hours ahead there. So we would just be up chilling, and then we would like wake up at 12 o'clock. So it took about 3 or 4 days for us to get like on their time schedule. Oh, so here's a follow-up question to the person that asked me my real thoughts about Paris. What went well? What would you do differently for your next trip? So what went well is that, you know, we had a really good time just checking out the sights. Like just walking down the street in Paris is kind of an adventure because it's completely different. Like it just, I don't know, the atmosphere is completely different, but it felt like a mix between New York and Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know if that's just the area we were staying in, but I feel like everywhere we went on the street, it just felt like, oh, okay, this is familiar. It kind of felt like I was in a big city here in the States. But I think that went well, just being able to see like the sights. Like, you know, we went to see the Louvre, we got to see the Mona Lisa. You know, we went up in the Eiffel Tower. Like that was beautiful. Seeing the Eiffel Tower at night, oh, it's so beautiful. We were able to, you know, go to the bridge where they're putting the locks. It's not like the original one, because apparently they did away with the original one. Like they got rid of all the locks. So there's a new lock bridge, you know, like the Love Lock Bridge. So we were able to like get a lock and put our names on it, and like things like that went well. Our accommodations were well. It was nice to have enough time to where we didn't feel rushed to see everything, because a couple of days we did relax and chill and took it very easy. We didn't have to feel like, you know, oh my gosh, we have like 2 or 3 days to see this, and this. Like we were able to kind of take our time and see the sights as we wanted to. We were able to get some shopping done without feeling rushed. So a lot of things went well. Now, what would I do differently? I would definitely research more, just because I feel like I didn't have enough of enough of a plan. Like, I'm the type of person that likes to go on vacation with a plan. I mean, unless I'm going to like a beach resort where I'm just gonna lay out every day, I would like to know, okay, these are the sites that I want to see, kind of loosely break it down, like, okay, on this day we're gonna go see this place, on this day we're gonna go see that. And I just feel like I didn't have the time to do that before we left, so it was a little stressful trying to, you know, do that there, because it was like after a day of sightseeing you just want to come back and relax. But then I'm like trying to figure out, okay, what's our plan for the next day, and do we have to get tickets, and blah 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 blah. And that's another thing I would have done but differently, is bought my Eiffel Tower tickets as soon as I booked my travel, because who knew it was such a gaggle to get tickets. Like, you can always show up and stand in line the day of, but you're going to be in line for hours. So, and they only have like a limited amount of tickets beforehand. So it was slim pickings. Like, we almost didn't get tickets to see the Eiffel Tower. It wasn't nothing but God, because, and I was looking like as soon as we got there. So it was probably like a week and a half before we wanted to go, but the tickets was just gone. So yeah, those are the main things that I would do differently. I would just spend some time planning a little bit more. We would go to Disney Paris, because we made the decision not to go, because I was kind of being cheap. I didn't want to spend all that money for one day. But in hindsight, it probably would have been a great experience for the kids. Even though we've been to Disney a million times, we've never been to Disney in Paris. And who knows if we'll ever be over there to do that again. I'm sure we could go. But yeah, so I definitely would have done that differently. And I'm trying to think what else. I would have packed a little bit more. I feel like I did. Okay. So I packed 2 pairs of jeans that I did not need at all. I wore jeans one day and I was like, never again. It's too hot for that. I packed 2 pairs of shorts, and I wish that I would have packed maybe like 4 pairs of shorts, because I packed like 2 pairs of shorts and like 10 tops. So I'm like, you know, they all, like all the tops went with the both pairs of shorts, but it was only 2 of them. So it was like I had to wash, you know, more than I would have liked to, and it just would have been nice to have a couple more options of bottoms. And then I only packed like 3 dresses, so I was trying to like pack light because we had the washer and dryer. But yeah, I probably would have brought a little bit more variety in my wardrobe. But I feel like overall, like that's it. That's all that I would have really done like differently. I would have stayed less time. Oh, that's a major one. Just because I felt like we were over there for entirely too long. I was just ready to come home. So I probably would have shaved off like 2 to 3 days from the trip. Yeah, because I just feel like a couple of days we was just there, just hanging out, which was good to have a rest, but was it really necessary? Not really. So those are the things that I would do different. Absolute worst part of traveling out of the country. I don't think that I have a worst part of traveling out of the country. I think just that feeling of having everything. Like, I had this feeling like, oh my gosh, you know, do I have everything? Did I leave something? Am I going to be able to get what I leave over there? Which you are. Like, everything that we have over there is over there. Like, I could have left my drawers. There was a Victoria's Secret around the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything that I could have left. There was a MAC. There was a Sephora. There was, you know, there wasn't a Target, but there was a Monoprix, which, you know, was like a Target. So, I mean, everything that I used was over there, and I could have got, like, we bought Pampers for Reagan. We only took so many, and then we bought them over there twice. So, yeah, I think that was probably the worst part for me, was just this, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get over there and realize I forgot something and I won't be able to replace it. But you can totally do that. So which is good, because I probably won't have that fear now going forward if I go somewhere else, because I'm like, I'll have access to something. It may not be exactly what I have here, but it'll be something. But yeah, I think that's probably the worst part. And like custom lines, like going through customs, that takes a little bit of time. But when you travel with kids, that's a plus, because you usually get priority. They, like, you know, allow you to skip everybody else, so you don't have to wait in that long line when you have kids. So that's nice. But, you know, having things like TSA pre-check and like global entry is helpful. We don't have global entry yet, but I think we're looking to get it. But TSA pre-check is like the best. But it only works here going. Like, they don't have that over there. What was your favorite meal? Y'all, it was this little bitty like crepe place. It was like a hole in the wall. It was so small. But when I tell y'all, them crepes were amazing. Amazing. We went twice, and I should have went back the last day we were there just to get it one more time. It was so good. Like, that is my mission, is to find out how to make crepes, because that one that we had, if I could recreate it, life would be made. It was so good. It was chicken and cheese and peppers and what else was in there? Mushrooms and hot sauce. It was just oh my gosh, it was so good. I'm still thinking about it. It was so good. And then they had Nutella and banana crepes. Make you want to slap your mama. Man, that was hands down my favorite. And then the next thing was the coffee gelato. Like, the gelato was just great. The gelato was great in Paris and in Venice. Like, just slap your mama good. I'm such a foodie, and we ate good. That's what we did do. We ate good. Like, over half of our budget was spent eating. That's how much we ate while we were over there. It was good though. Favorite excursion in Paris was probably bike riding. We took a bike tour. It was a 3-hour tour, and we biked, and I had a little thing on the back for Reagan, and then Chad had like a tandem bike with Chad Jr., so he was able to like pedal, and he had his own handles. That was probably the most fun that I had there. Like, that was the best thing ever, just being able to see the city on a bike. Like, it was just fun. Now, the drivers, you gotta watch out for them, because they don't care about you being on a bike. That's another part of them being so rude. Like, they didn't even want to stop. I almost got hit by this motorcyclist because they just I mean, it was ridiculous. So you gotta be careful when you get on those bikes. But it was so much fun. Like, definitely take a bike tour. So now that's like my thing. Now I'm like, oh, we should take bike tours wherever we go, like where they offer them, because it's just a fun way to see the city. So that was my absolute favorite. Did y'all use the GPS to find your way around? Absolutely. We would have been lost without Google Maps. Like, Google Maps was our saving grace. Everywhere we went, we put it in Google Maps, and we were like, okay, is it quicker to walk, or is it quicker to get on the metro, or do we feel like walking, or do we want to ride the train? Like, we used it for everything, because we didn't take like Ubers or anything like that, because we didn't have the car seats. So we relied on public transportation and our feet. And Google Maps was a lifesaver. Oh, and a tip about that is to download the map before you get to the place, because that way when you download the map, you can use it offline without like using your data. So we downloaded the map for Paris. It gives you like, a broad enough range where you can download, and you can download more if you want. You don't need all of Paris, but like the area you're going to be staying in. And then we downloaded Venice also, and that was a lifesaver because it didn't use our data while we were there. And another thing about data, make sure you call your phone company, make sure you call your phone company before you get there also, because you want to let them know that you're traveling, and you want to make sure that your phone is set up for international and that you're not getting crazy charges. So we have AT&T, and they have this thing like this international plan where you pay like $10 a day for unlimited talk, text, and data when you are overseas. So anytime that you activate it, like, they don't charge you until you activate it. So if you go a day without having a phone call or doing text message or whatever, and you're just on Wi-Fi, then you don't get charged the $10. But as soon as you like use your data or text or whatever, then the $10 kicks in, and it's for 24 hours. So every 24 hours it's a $10 charge to use the international roaming, which actually isn't a bad deal at all, because it's unlimited. You still don't have any limits. So that's what we did with our phones. What was the biggest difference you noticed about being in another country versus the US? Things like the outlets, the plugs, which is crazy. I mean, that it's going to be different, but then you have to think about like all the things that you plug up to charge. Like, we got a lot of devices, so I got to charge my watch and my phone and my iPad and my laptop and the camera battery and this, and it just wasn't enough outlets. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. And it was partly our fault, because we didn't have enough of the like converters, so we had to we ended up going out and buying more. So that was a difference. What was another difference? I'm trying to think of what was something that I was like, oh, that's weird. they didn't really have kids menus. A lot of the places we went to eat, like we would have to order just full size for the kids. I thought that was different. And let's see, what else? I'm trying to think of like what else that was like, man, that is so weird. Oh, you know what? The eggs weren't refrigerated. That was so weird to me. Like, I wasn't used to that. The eggs were not refrigerated, and neither were the pancakes. Like, the pancakes were out like, you know, like the crackers would be. Like, I'm like, this, it's not in the cold section. I could just leave it out on the counter. Like, that was just really weird to me, that they did that. And it's interesting because they have Starbucks over there, but Starbucks, they don't take the little Starbucks card. And then also, like, coffee is different. So like, you know, here we have drip coffee. You got Pike Place, you got dark roast, light roast, medium roast, whatever type of roast you want. But over there, like, it's more espresso based. So I'm like, do you have a dark roast? And they're like, Americano? I'm like, no, that's not the same. Like, they drink espressos more so than, you know, over here we're drinking like, you know, all these foo-foo coffee drinks or drip coffee. But, you know, they only had like one option of drip coffee. There was no other options, whatever roast they had. So that was a difference. But honestly, like, everything else was pretty much the same, just, you know, a different language. Any advice to parents or a parent that is traveling with children for the first time? Just think about the things that make your child comfortable and have those things with you. I mean, obviously you can't take like huge things, but if your child has like a blanket that they love, make sure that you pack that blanket. If they have like a book that they like for you to read to them at night, make sure you pack that. If they have, you know, special like dietary concerns and there's only certain things that they can eat, make sure that you bring those types of snacks with you. You know, like making sure that your child feels as comfortable as possible and can stay as close to their routine as possible. Like, that's gonna make a world of difference, because, you know, they'll be comfortable. So when they're comfortable, they're not gonna be crying, they're not gonna be whining, they're not gonna be upset. Like, you know, I mean, kids, they do that anyway, but if you keep them pretty close to their routine, then they should be okay. You know what I'm saying? So just making sure you have that. And then, like, just don't go into it with the mindset of, oh my gosh, this is going to be a mess because I have my kids. Because that sets yourself, like, you set yourself up for failure when you think that. So just go into it with an open mind. Think like, man, we're going to have the best experience. This is going to be great. If your child cries, oh well, children cry. Like, there's only so much you can do. It's okay. Like, just like if you were in the grocery store or at a restaurant and your child was acting up, like, it's no different. So, you know, don't feel some kind of way. Sure, there are people who are gonna be mad, but who cares? But for every person that's mad, there's another person that's understanding and they get it. So yeah, I say just do it. Like, when you're traveling with your kids, just do it. Don't let the kids like hinder you. You can go places with them. You can have these experiences with them. Life doesn't have to stop just because you have kids, but, you know, just make sure that they're comfortable and that they're as close to their routine as possible. That helps. How did I configure out the conversions for money? So, okay, money, when you get over there, when you get in the airport, you can exchange your money like for euros, like if you have cash on you, or you could just go to the ATM and withdraw euros. So you have to check, that's something you have to do with your bank. You want to check with them and make sure, first of all, that they know you're traveling overseas so that you don't get over there and get no blocks on your debit cards or credit cards or nothing like that. You want to make sure everybody knows that you're traveling overseas so they don't cut you off. And then you also want to find out like what their fee is to exchange the rate. So you'll know, like, if I have a transaction, I'm going to get like a 1% fee with this transaction because of the different money. So just make sure that you know those things. But it's really easy. Like, when we got over there, we took out so much cash so we could have euros on us for, like, you know, tips and things like that, things that we saw that we wanted to buy with, you know, with euros, having the cash. And then everybody didn't take a debit card either. So just like here, like, you'll be hard pressed to find places that don't take debit cards here in the States, but there were some places over there where it was cash only. So especially when we went to Venice, so it was nice to just have the euros. And I mean, I didn't have to figure out any conversions or anything. Like, they tell you the price in euros, or some of them will say, do you want to pay with dollars or with euros? And like, if you're using your debit card, you could choose which one you wanted to pay with. So if the dollar, I'm trying to think, does that mean is the dollar stronger? Is the dollar weaker? So it takes more over there. So like $20 here is probably like $17 or $18 over there. Does that make sense? I feel like that's how it is. Yeah. So $20 in USD is 1806 in euros. So yeah, you lose a little bit there. But when you buy things over there, what I noticed is that they are cheaper. Even with the conversion rate, it still comes out to be cheaper. So like, you buy something that's normally here, it's probably like $1,100–1,200, but there it's like $800. Even when you do the conversion, it still comes out cheaper. And then in Paris, they have this thing where, like, if you spend more than $175 in a single store, you get the tax back. So it's like duty free. So you just have to like claim that in the store. When you buy it, they'll give you like a form, and then when you're leaving at the airport, you take that and claim it, and then you get the tax back, which is a really cool incentive if you're trying to get your shop on, because you're already going to be paying less, and then you get the tax back if it's like a big ticket item. So yeah, that's kind of how the money situation went. Did I book each tour separately? I did, just because that's just how I did it. But they do have something called the Paris Pass, where you can pay one fee and it like gets you into like so many different attractions and museums. And I think you can do like the hop on hop off bus tour, maybe some metro tickets. I'm not really sure, but I didn't purchase them because I didn't know that we were going to be doing enough for it to be worth it. But like, if you're there with like a bunch of adults, then it's probably a good idea. But a lot of times, like, you get discounts on kid things anyway. So we didn't go that route. And maybe had I researched a little bit more, we maybe could have came out cheaper, like if I looked at what we did versus what we could have done. But we didn't do all of that. So it's kind of like you pay for the access to be able to do all of that, but I knew that we weren't going to be doing all of that. So it was like, we'll just pay for our stuff, you know, as we go. But that is definitely something to think about if you plan on seeing like everything while you're there. Then look into the Paris Pass. What tips do you have for selecting an Airbnb out of the country? So here are my Airbnb tips. It doesn't matter where you are, if you're getting your Airbnb in the States or out of the country, read the reviews. Like, that is my #1 thing, is to read the reviews. And it's interesting that I say that, because the place we stayed at in Paris, there were no reviews. And I loved the location so much that I was like, I'm just gonna do it. It looks good. I'm just gonna trust it. And you know, Airbnb is a trusted company, so like any and everybody can't just sign up and throw crap on there, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is some type of accountability there. And then I also, when I'm searching, I look at people that are verified on Airbnb. Now, their rates are going to be higher than people that aren't verified, but I start there. And then if I'm not able to find somebody there, if I just feel like it's ridiculous and I find somebody else that's not verified, I just make sure I comb through all of the reviews. And then also, you know, like, you can send questions, you can ask the questions to the host, and you know, you can have conversation with them before you book. So that is the one thing. And always when I'm looking at an Airbnb, I 9 times out of 10, I want the whole place to myself. I've only stayed one place where we were in somebody's basement, and it was because, you know, we went to like a concert one night and it was a bunch of us. We stayed in the basement. It was cool. But normally I don't want to interact with other people on the trip, so I prefer to stay like in a place where you have the entire place to yourself. Like, I don't want to rent a room in your house and you still gonna be there conducting business as usual. I'd rather just have the whole place to myself. So those are like my biggest tips, you know, making sure that you go through on Airbnb and hit every single amenity that you want. So when I searched for places for Paris, we had to have the entire place to ourselves. It had to have air conditioning, because that's another thing. A lot of places did not have air. Like, finding air conditioning was like slim pickings. It was really weird. So yeah, it had to have that, it had to have air, it had to have a washer and dryer, and it had to have Wi-Fi. Like those were the 4 main things that I searched for on Airbnb. So I put all of that in there, so it automatically filters and only shows me things that are qualified. So that would be my main tip, is just to research. People leave reviews for a reason, and a lot of times you can find out so much information in the reviews, like, oh, this location was great, or no, the location wasn't great, or no, it doesn't look like the pictures, or this or that. So just read the reviews, and then you got to take them with a grain of salt, because you know, reviews are also people's opinions too, so you got to kind of look out for that. But I think the reviews will not steer you wrong if you look into those when booking an Airbnb. I have not had any bad experiences with any of the places that I stayed with in Airbnb, and we probably stayed at about 10 at least, I think, and I haven't had any issues. So I highly recommend Airbnb, not sponsored. How did you decide what area to stay in? Did you do your research on your own? Yes, I just did my research. And honestly, like when it came to location for Paris, I would Google the location, because on Airbnb they don't give you the exact address until you book the place, but they do give you a map and like a roundabout area, so you can take an intersection. And then I would Google Maps and see how far that was from the Eiffel Tower, how far it was from the Louvre, how far it was from the attractions that I knew we were going to, so I could make sure we were kind of in the area. Like that's how I figured out the first place we booked in Paris was way too far, because I just kind of Googled it, you know, knowing that we were walking and that we were going to be riding public transportation. Like it doesn't necessarily matter that much if you're driving, but you do kind of want to be close to what you're going for, or like the attractions that you're going to see. So that's how I decided, you know, like what area we would be in, and then I just, you know, went from there. Like I found what I did was I found my favorites, favorited them. Like every time I travel somewhere, I create a list on Airbnb. I go through, put all of my, you know, specs, everything that I'm looking for, check all my amenities, and then I go through the list and I favorite the ones that I like, and I put them in a list for that city. So I have lists for every place that we've been to pretty much. I've got lists for Nashville, for LA, for Florida, for Paris, for Venice. Like I have a list of places, Airbnbs that I like. So then after I get that whole list of favorites together, then I kind of comb through, look through them again, and then kind of eliminate ones that I don't think will work. Or then like my favorite ones, I'll check and see like how close they are to where I'm going. So that's kind of how I find the Airbnb. Somebody asked like what area we were in Paris, and it was the second, I don't know how to say this word, arrondissement. I don't know how you say that, but Paris is kind of like mapped off in like these numbers, and we were in like the second. That was the area that we were in, and it was perfect. Like super close to a really popular mall, super close to the metro, like walking distance from the Louvre. Like it was great. And I will actually put links for the Airbnbs that we stayed in the description box if you guys want to check them out. I think somebody did actually ask me like the price of them, and I don't have that off top, so I'm gonna have to look at my receipt. Was this business or pleasure? It was for pleasure. This was probably the first trip that we've taken in a long time just without any business attached to it. Like we were just there on our own dime, our own time, doing whatever we wanted to. Somebody said, when you guys were watching movies on the plane, were they free or did you have to pay for them? Most airlines, if they have like the screens there, or they have like an app that you can put on like your iPad or your laptop, where they'll give you like free entertainment and you can watch certain things for free now. And then like if you want to do other things like check your email or your messaging, then you'll have to pay for Wi-Fi. But most airlines have some type of free entertainment for you to watch, either on the screens in the seat or via an app that you put on your device. Are the items expensive there? I don't think so. I think a lot of the items are cheaper. We did go grocery shopping like the first or second night we were there, and I felt like those groceries are ridiculous. But then I found out we didn't really go to like the true grocery store, so that would probably explain why the prices were a little higher. But overall, I didn't feel like things were that much more expensive. They were pretty comparable. But the overall cost, yes, I feel like the overall cost was expensive, just because things add up when you're eating out every day. Like, that stuff adds up, and then you're paying for attractions. Like, it's definitely not a cheap trip. Like, there's not a whole lot of free activities that, like, the main things that you want to see, you're going to have to pay to see them, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm sure there are plenty of free things to do, but you are going to have to spend some money, you know, just eating and seeing certain things. How did baby girl sleep? And she slept great. She slept great on the plane and great there. We actually rented, there's a company that I found where we rented a high chair for her and a pack and play. So we were able to put her in a pack and play in her own room, and it was just like being at home. She went down and she slept for her, you know, 8 to 10 hours with no problems, not waking up at all. Like, she slept like a champ. Probably the best she's ever slept on vacation, because a lot of times we're in a hotel room all in the same room. So, like, you know, she can hear us. If she wakes up, she sees us. But with her being in her own separate room, she was perfect. What is the one thing you must do in Paris? I would say that you have to see the Eiffel Tower. You have to. You have to see it at daytime, and you have to see it at night. Just because it's such an iconic thing when you think of Paris. I know when I think of Paris, I immediately think of the Eiffel Tower. So you definitely have to go. You definitely have to go up. We did not go all the way up to the top. We only went to the second floor, and that was just enough for me. I feel like I've been on the top of a lot of buildings, and, you know, once you see one view of a whole city, you know, you kind of see them all. The Empire State Building, the Eiffel Tower, the Needle at Seattle. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a high up view. So, like, definitely go up at least to the second floor. If you want to go all the way to the tip top, do that. But that was one of the things that we didn't get to do because we didn't buy our tickets far enough in advance that there were no tickets to go all the way up to the top when we wanted to go. So we had to settle for the second floor, which was fine, actually. Like, I don't feel like I missed anything by not going to the top. But that would be the thing that I say. If you go to Paris, you have to go see the Eiffel Tower. Can you do a Paris travel outfit video? You were so cute and chic. Thank you. I actually did record a couple of my outfits for a lookbook. I feel like I didn't get everything. Like, I definitely didn't get everything, because some of my outfits were just kind of just basic, like, you know, a t-shirt or like a shirt and some shorts. But like, my really cute outfits, I feel like I got, but I feel like I missed a few of them. So I need to look back at the footage and see how many outfits I actually got, and if it's enough to put together in a lookbook. If so, I will put together a lookbook for you guys of Paris, and then also I can do like a haul. If you guys are interested in seeing a haul of the things that I bought in Paris, let me know. I didn't shop a whole lot, but I did buy a couple things, so maybe I'll do that, like a haul / what I wore in Paris type of thing, if it's not enough for just a solid lookbook. Why did your mom stay a few days? It seemed like such a short trip for far away. Well, my mom still works, so she had to go when she had time off to take, and you know, like, she could only take, like, realistically 5 or 6 days off, so we had to kind of make it work in that. And so that was like the major reason. Like, it would have been great if she could have gone for longer, but she still works, so she has to go when she can take the time off. So that's why it was kind of a quick trip for her. How were you received in Europe as an interracial couple? That's a really good question. We were received just like we were received here. Like, I didn't encounter anything crazy. Nobody like looking at us like they've never seen interracial couples before. Like, none of that. It was just like normal. How did the kids handle the flights? They did really good. I feel like I answered this, but like, they're troopers. They've been flying their whole life, so they're used to it. And we just made sure we had everything that we knew would keep them occupied. If baby girl got restless, like, you know, you just switch the activity. you get restless watching the iPad, let me give you a toy. If you get restless with that, let me give you the boob. I mean, she did eat a lot. I think just comfort and just like, you know, kind of out of being bored. She did nurse a lot. But, you know, let me give you a snack. Are you hungry? You know what I'm saying? So, and we didn't really like walk around very much at all now that I think about it. Just like going to the bathroom to change her, and you know, all the planes are equipped with you know, the little changing thing that comes down, so it's no problem to like take the kids back there, or to take Reagan back there and like change her. It's not, you know what I'm saying, it's an airplane bathroom, so it's not like you got ample space, but it's enough to get the job done. So yeah, like they handled it great. They were troopers. How far in advance did you plan for the trip? So we knew we wanted to take the trip. We knew last year that this summer we were going to take the trip, but we didn't book things until probably like late April, early May. That's when we like booked all of our travel and like our accommodations. But then we had a place in Paris, but it was in a suburb of Paris. So as it got closer to the time to go, I started just like Googling to see how far it was from like the sites, and it was really far. I was like, we're gonna have to do a whole lot to explore the city. So I found another Airbnb, and I ended up having to pay more, like $1,500 more than what I had already booked, but it was like two weeks before we left, maybe 3 tops. But I'm so grateful for that, because the place we had in Paris was amazing. Like the location was perfect. The earlier you can plan in advance and purchase things, the better. Don't wait until the last minute. Like, this is definitely not a trip where you want to wait until the last minute to plan it. You want to do it ahead of time. So somebody asked about traveling with babies. Did it take away from the experience or make it harder to enjoy? And no, I don't think that it made it harder to enjoy. Now, there were some things that we didn't get to do because we had the kids. Like, there's this museum we wanted to go to, Catacombs. It's like an underground situation, and they don't recommend it for kids that are like in strollers or that are like under 5 years old. So we didn't get to do that. We did have a day date, and we were gonna go that day, but we didn't buy our tickets ahead of time, so we were just like, oh well, we'll just miss it. So there were a couple of things that we probably couldn't have done. Like, we weren't able to go, like, you know, wine tasting or anything like that because we did have the kids. But I wouldn't say that it made it less enjoyable. Like, we still had a really good time, and I think that we got to see pretty much everything that we wanted to see, even with the kids. So I definitely don't feel like having kids hinders you from taking this type of a vacation, and especially for that long. Like, I wouldn't leave them here for 12-14 days. Maybe if it was like a quick trip, then, you know, so maybe next time if we go back to Paris, we'll go just as a couple, so we can do like all the romantic things and, you know, go out for dinner and drinks like after hours or stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think that it didn't like hinder the trip having them. It was fun to go as a family. Any digestive issues from Parisian cuisine? No, I didn't have any issues with the food at all. And we ate, like, we did try traditional French things, but we ate a lot of American stuff. We had a lot of burgers, fries, like, you know what I'm saying, pizza, pasta, that type of stuff. But I say the crepes were probably like the most French thing that we had. I had like French chicken one day. It was just like a breaded chicken cutlet thing. I don't know, it was French. That's what the waiter told me. It was like a traditional French dish. So like, but we didn't have anything like crazy outlandish that would have upset our stomach. Like, some of the pastries are a little bit different, but I mean, it was all good. Nobody had any issues. Praise God. Is the plain food nice? And honestly, like, our plain food was good. Like, they gave us good stuff. We had like chicken and vegetables and mashed potatoes for the dinner, and we had like these turkey croissant ham and cheese sandwiches, and we had ice cream, and we had what else did we have? We had warm cookie service, and, you know, all the beverages you could have, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, not all. We were in Delta Comfort, so when you're in Delta Comfort, you don't pay for those. But yeah, like, you know, whatever your heart's desire, they pretty much have it on the plane. You can pay for it. But yeah, like, honestly, the food was good. Now, I will say, with traveling with Reagan, as a lap child, they didn't give her a meal because she didn't have a seat, but neither one of our flights were full, so we were able to get extra from the flight attendants. But you know, because we asked, we're like, is this something that we can pay for? Because I even called ahead of time, like, you know, I'm traveling with a lap child, I know that she won't get a meal, can I pay for an extra meal, like, ahead of time? But they wouldn't let me do that ahead of time. They were like, that's just something you ask when you are on the flight. But thankfully we didn't have to pay anything because our flights weren't full, so they just gave us extra and Reagan was good. Okay, so somebody asked, I'm sorry y'all if you are still watching, thank you for watching. I feel like this is so long, but I wanted to answer as many questions as possible. Somebody said, wanting to plan a trip for me and my girls, where did you start first? Ticket, Airbnb? So the first thing that I bought was a plane ticket, because you can have all the lodging you want, all the activities you want, but if you got no plane ticket, you ain't going. So that was the first thing that I did, was search flights. With us using our miles, I just kind of like searched maybe like a couple of weeks before I bought them, just to see how many miles it would be. I kind of like priced it out, and then we wanted to make sure that we had the dates together we were going to go, so then I would look back to see if it changed. And certain days prices are higher, so here's my tips when you're searching for airfare. First of all, clear your cache, like clear the cache in your computer, because it saves that information. So a lot of times, like, you'll search for a flight and then when you come back it'll be higher, but it knows that you've been there already. So yeah, make sure you clear your cache every time you're searching for a flight. Just start from fresh, okay? And then like certain days are a little bit cheaper, so I think it's Tuesdays are a little bit cheaper. Like, I try not to buy flights on the weekend because I feel like they're higher on the weekends. And there's, like, you know, you could probably Google this and it can tell you more, but just from my experience, like the cost will change. It will vary within like a week or two of things. So I'll look one day, price it out, and then I'll look a couple days later, and then if it's the same, I'll go ahead and buy it. If it's higher, then I'll wait a couple more days and look like on the original day that I looked and see if it went back down, and then I'll purchase the tickets. So just being like savvy. But there are a number of like apps and websites where you can sign up to get alerted for you know, price drops and price changes on flights. So yeah, I would definitely start there. Then you want to get your lodging, and then you want to look for your experiences. Like, I mean, because it just makes sense to make sure you have all of that squared away, how you're getting there, where you're staying, and then you can start thinking about, okay, well, what am I going to do when I get there? So, and then also like your transportation, like how am I getting from the airport to the place, and blah, blah, blah. Make sure you take care of all of that first, and then you can focus on what you're going to do when you get there. And then when it comes to that, I just normally would like plan an itinerary. So I would look up, like, you know, top things to do in the city that you're going to, and then kind of like formulate a list of places and things that you want to do from that list. And then you can just kind of plug and play however you want to. Like, okay, this day will be a good day to do that, or maybe the museum is closed on Tuesday, so we'll do something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of how I formulate an itinerary. And I will say that for this trip, we actually had a couple of peeps that sent us like a sample itinerary of things to do, and some of those things we actually did. So shout out to y'all for that. That was really sweet. People that just like lived in the area, they were like, here, these are the things you should check out, and like one went as far as to like map it out for us like every day. It was really sweet. All right, I think I covered all of the questions. Hopefully I covered all of the questions. I tried to be as thorough as possible, explaining everything that we did. Oh, this is one thing that I did want to mention as far in terms of a budget. I found this app that I loved that helped us kind of stay on task with our money, and like we were able to set like daily limits. Like we set a limit for the whole trip, and then like every day, like I added the receipts and how much we spent, so we had like daily limits so that we would know, okay, every day we can't spend more than, you know, $300, so that we can make our money last for the entire time that we're here. And it's called Trail Wallet. Hands down, probably the best thing that we could have ever done for this trip, because normally we have a loose budget, but we don't really stick to it. But this made it easy to stick to it, because you literally just plug in everything. Like, you get a receipt, you can take a picture of the receipt, you can plug in the information, and then it takes it off the budget for the day, like your total for the day. So you're like, oh, we've got $100 left, or oh, we got like $5 left for the day. You know what I'm saying? And then you can kind of see, like, it'll give you a percentage of how much you've spent for your whole trip. Like, it's just really, really helpful. So I highly recommend that app as well. And I think that is it. I feel like I've answered all of the questions. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you for watching. If you have more questions that I didn't cover, make sure you listen to our podcast, and then you can also leave those questions down below, and I'll try and answer them in the comments. If I missed something, let me know, and I'll try to answer that there too. And yeah, you guys, hopefully this just made you want to get out there and do some traveling, whether, you know, international or domestic, whatever the case. Get out there and see the world, because there's so much to see. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.